I rise this morning to discuss the very pressing challenge that too many of our young people are facing, and that's the issue of college affordability. As I travel throughout New Hampshire, I continue to hear young people and their families express their deep concerns about the high cost of college and about their student loans. In New Hampshire, this problem is especially significant because New Hampshire ranks second highest in the nation for the proportion of students who are graduating from college with debt, and also for the average amount of debt per graduate. 74% of students in New Hampshire graduate with debt, and that debt is an average of $33,000 per student. I've talked to some young people who worry that they're never going to be able to get out from under that student debt burden. Now, we all know that obtaining a college education has been viewed as a step that can propel Americans into the middle class, allowing them to pursue goals like starting a family, opening a business, or purchasing a home. Unfortunately, education costs have increased at 4 times the rate of inflation from 1985 to 2011. This is a problem that has both short-term and long-term implications for our citizens who want to continue their education after high school. It's a problem that has serious implications also for the nation's economy. According to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, approximately 40 million Americans hold more than $1.2 trillion in student loan debt. The agency also indicates that student loan debt has exceeded credit card debt in the country and is exceeded only by home mortgages in terms of the total amount of debt in this country. So we have more student debt than credit card debt, and only home mortgages exceed the amount of student loan debt. And while Americans are struggling to pay back this staggering debt, it's projected that the federal government will earn $66 billion in profits from its role in student lending between 2007 and 2012. That's just not right. Clearly, it's time for Congress to take action to help individuals with student debt. It's time to help them reclaim their American dream, to help them have a chance at pursuing the goals that drove them to college in the first place. To this end, I'm very pleased to join with so many of my colleagues in supporting the Bank on Students Emergency Loan Refinancing Act. This legislation would allow eligible borrowers who took out student loans before July 1st, 2013, to refinance those loans at rates currently being offered to new borrowers. It's clear that Congress needs to come together to work to reduce the cost of college for aspiring students throughout the country. But we also need to provide relief to those who have already borrowed to pursue their education, many of whom have interest rates for their student loans that are much higher than they would be if they were purchasing a home or a car. This action is also way overdue. You know, the extent to which young people are feeling this pressure really came home to me when I visited a veteran from New Hampshire who served in Afghanistan named Calvin. I first met Calvin at Walter Reed Medical Center, where he was recovering after losing a leg from stepping on an IED. He was married, he had a young child, and he was talking about the challenges he faced after he recovered from his injuries. But the thing that impressed me the most was his number one concern was how were he and his wife going to repay their student loans. That's why I think we've got to do something about this. We've got to make sure that young people like Calvin don't spend their professional lives worrying about how to pay back their student loans. I plan to file an amendment today as we take up the Students Emergency Loan Refinancing Act that will address the challenge that young people have as they look at how to keep track of their student loans. I think they need to have a portal that gives them a one-stop shop so they can view all of their student loan information, public and private, in one central online location. And I've heard stories from young people in New Hampshire about this concern. from people like Kim, who's from Nashua. She's a 30-year-old woman. She has student debt from obtaining her bachelor's and 2 master's degrees. Her student loan payments cost her more per month than a home mortgage would. And she recently found a job that's helping her make her loan payments, but before she got that offer, she felt overwhelmed by her debt, and she found it difficult to communicate and work with her lenders. By providing a one-stop online shop for debt management, the amendment that I'll be offering will give people like Kim an easier way to track and understand their loans and their repayment options. I'm pleased that just yesterday the President announced a number of initiatives to help borrowers, including plans similar to the provisions in my Simplifying Access to Student Loan Information Act, so that we can encourage the use of innovative methods to communicate with borrowers. But as we all know, we need to do more in this Congress to ensure that we can help borrowers who are struggling to repay their student loans. And I thank my colleague from Massachusetts, Senator Warren, for her work on this bill. I look forward to continuing to work with her and my other colleagues to ensure that student loan borrowers finally see some relief.